Imagine spending your entire career surviving insurgencies, guarding borders in sub-zero temperatures and blistering heat, rising through the ranks over decades, only to watch an outsider walk in and take the top job. Not because they were better, not because they earned it within your organization, but simply because the system was designed that way. That is exactly what has been happening to 13,000 officers of India's Central Armed Police Forces for decades. And just when a Supreme Court verdict gave them reason to believe things were finally about to change, the government did something that has left them stunned. It moved to pass a law to keep things exactly as they were. The Central Armed Police Forces are not the armed forces, but they're not quite the police either. They sit in between, and that in-between status is precisely where their problem lives. The CAPF umbrella covers the CRPF, BSF, CISF, itbp and SSB, a combined strength of nearly 10 lakh personnel. These are the forces that hold the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, guard the China border in Ladakh, protect airports and nuclear installations, and respond to Naxal violence in the country's heartland. Each of these forces has its own cadre of officers, selected through examination by the UPSC. And for decades, they have been demanding one thing: that their own officers who rose through the ranks of these forces get a fair shot at the top jobs within them. Instead, those top jobs have historically gone to the Indian Police Service. The highest positions in each CAPF, from DIG to ADG, are predominantly filled by IPS officers on deputation. The top post, Director General, is reserved exclusively for the IPS. The arrangement was a temporary measure introduced in the 1950s when the CRPF was expanding and lacked its own senior cadre. The CAPF has a significant cadre now. The temporary measure has not left. In practical terms, a CRPF officer who has spent 30 years in counter-insurgency operations, who has led battalion after battalion in the most difficult conditions imaginable, can find himself reporting to an IPS officer who has never served in those conditions a day in his life. The matter reached the Supreme Court, which ruled in favor of CAPF officers. The court granted them the same status as the IPS, IAS and IRS and directed the government to progressively reduce IPS deputation posts in CAPFs up to the level of Inspector General within 2 years. The government challenged that verdict, filing a review petition. The Supreme Court rejected it in October 2025. The original direction stood, but implementation stalled. Contempt petitions began piling up, and when the matter came up for hearing, the government sought 1 additional year to comply, citing complex policy, structural and financial considerations. On the same day that request was made in court, the Union Cabinet cleared the Central Armed Police Forces General Administration Bill, a piece of legislation specifically designed to retain IPS deputation at the IG and DIG levels in the CAPFs. The exact arrangement the Supreme Court had directed the government to phase out. One hand in court asking for more time, the other hand in cabinet making more time permanently unnecessary. The government's argument for retaining IPS deputation is not without logic. India's internal security landscape requires constant coordination between state police forces and central paramilitary forces. IPS officers who have served in state cadres before coming on deputation bring existing relationships and institutional knowledge. A coordination bandwidth, the argument goes, that pure cadre CAPF leadership might struggle to replicate overnight. But that argument runs into 2 uncomfortable facts. The Railway Protection Force functions efficiently with its highest position largely filled with its own cadre, with only a single IPS officer at the top. The Indian Coast Guard no longer depends on Navy deputation and has a Director General from its own ranks. Both forces coordinate, both function, neither has fallen apart. For 13,000 officers who have spent careers earning every stripe in conditions that most will never see, the CAPF bill may not be good enough.